Hello and welcome to Newsround. I am Will Ibong. Here's a recap of stories that made headlines during the week. Tensions escalate in Rivers as the State House of Assembly renews its resolve to impeach both Governor Fubara and his deputy. And President Tinubu honors fallen heroes as Vice President Shatima leads laying to conclude the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance celebrations. And the Hiala community in Anambra State mourns 3 brothers and victims of the tragic fire at the Great Nigeria Insurance Building in Lagos as they're laid to rest. In Abu Dhabi, President Tinubu urges world leaders to prioritize equitable climate finance and capacity building for developing nations. That's Newsround in View, and Newsround begins with politics in Rivers State, where there's been some back and forth as the State House of Assembly has hardened its stance by continuing the impeachment process of Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu. The lawmakers made this known just before plenary on Friday when they addressed the press, saying the olive branch extended to the governor had been ignored, and as such they would go ahead with the impeachment proceedings.
The governor are the aggressors, serial offenders of our constitution.
It's an unusual scene at the Rivers State House of Assembly. Instead of inside the chambers, lawmakers step outside to address the press. Their message is direct and unmistakable. The Speaker has received approval to proceed with impeachment actions against Governor Siminalayi Fubara.
The governor and deputy governor are acting as if Rivers State House of Assembly does not exist. They are unperturbed about the allegations and are still boasting through their media attack dogs that members will simply be called to stop and that members cannot enforce the constitution.
In a dramatic twist, 4 lawmakers who previously called for the suspension of the impeachment process have now withdrawn their appeal. They accuse the governor of what they describe as continued recalcitrance, saying dialogue has broken down.
I, Honorable Silvanus Wankwo, and my fellow colleague here, Honorable Peter Abe, is saying that the impeachment proceedings should continue. We have rescinded our plea.
Regrettably, the governor and deputy governor have sent signals to us that they are not prepared to retrace their steps and govern in line with the Constitution. They are adamant.
The momentum cuts across ethnic lines. Ijaw lawmakers also add their voices, signaling broad legislative backing for the process.
It's quite unfortunate. I can't help it. It's a constitutional matter. It's quite unfortunate that the governor is an authoritative governor, a strong man governor, and an executive autocrat.
I call on the Speaker of the Rivers House Assembly to immediately reconvene the legislature to perform its constitutional duties as empowered. If we do not save democracy today, then all of us, one day, at one time or the other, will be swallowed by lawlessness.
Following the press briefing, plenary resumes. The House then votes to formally investigate allegations of gross misconduct leveled against Governor Fubara and his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu.
Members who are in support that the notice of allegations of gross misconduct against His Excellency Sir Siminalayi Fubara, GSSRS, Governor of Rivers State, be investigated should indicate by raising their hands. Please do the counting. Those in favor that the investigation should proceed are 25 in number. Against, nil. Abstention, nil. The Rivers State House of Assembly has resolved that investigations against allegations of gross misconduct leveled against His Excellency Sir Siminalayi Fubara, Governor of Rivers State, should proceed to the next level, which is investigation. And by virtue of Section 188, subsection 5, I will ensure that the resolution of this House is immediately communicated to the Chief Judge of Rivers State.
Moments later, the Speaker confirms that a letter has been dispatched to the Chief Judge of Rivers State requesting the constitution of a judicial panel to probe the allegations. Charles Oporum, Channels Television News.
And on Thursday, the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day peaked with Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima leading government officials and dignitaries to the wreath-laying ceremony to round off the week-long activities. Leaders of the National Assembly, the Chief Justice of Nigeria and the service chiefs were among those who joined the Vice President in paying the respect to honor the sacrifices of the fallen military officers and veterans.
With the Nigerian flag waving proudly in the Harmattan breeze, servicemen and women stood smartly in formation. It's the wreath-laying ceremony, the climax of the week-long activities set out to mark the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day. Present are members of the National Assembly, members of the Federal Executive Council, members of the Diplomatic Corps, military officers, and families of the late soldiers. The arrival of Vice President Kashim Shettima, who is representing President Bola Tinubu, signals the commencement of the ceremony. He then leads dignitaries towards the cenotaph for the wreath-laying ceremony, where prayers are said and a 1-minute silence is observed.
The moment the Vice President is proceeding to lay the wreath. This is the time.
One after the other, with the Vice President leading, wreaths are laid. Three volleys are fired by the firing party. Some pigeons symbolizing peace are then released, marking the end of the day's ceremony. For some of the dignitaries, it is a day to pay tribute to the sacrifices made for the country.
Thank you for protecting our democracy. Thank you for working with this administration to take the nation to the next level. We are proud of what the president is doing about the welfare of the men in service. It can only get better.
We pray to Almighty for them to continue to rest in the perfect peace, and for Almighty to comfort the widows, the widows, the orphans, and also the wounded.
We have realized that we're only remembering all those who are passed on and forgetting those who are living. And that's what we made it that is critical. We celebrate those who are alive so that they know that their sweat is not forgotten. And then while we also remember those who are passed on, including those who are injured. And that's why we say that we want to make it very holistic.
We are giving the veteran assurance, better day ahead. And we're also telling those ones serving, as they retire, good things are waiting for them. Because we are joining hands to work well when they are coming after their retirement.
According to the military, this year's Remembrance Day is special as it marks the recorded successes of our armed forces in the Northeast and other parts of the country. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
January 15 every year is set aside to celebrate fallen heroes who sacrificed their lives defending Nigeria's security and unity. And in their memory, state governments across southern Nigeria held the Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day to honor them, as well as 7 officers of the armed forces.
This year, the ceremony has been rejigged, now called the Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day Parade, where officers of the Nigerian Army, Navy, Air Force and veterans in the Nigerian Legion marched in a memorial procession to honor fallen ex-servicemen at the Remembrance Arcade Ground. At Okpara Square, Enugu State Governor Peter Mbah performed the wreath laying alongside other military and paramilitary officers and reaffirms his commitment in supporting the Nigerian Armed Forces.
On this day of remembrance, we honor those families who continue to carry their memory.
Anambra State also joined in marking the Armed Forces Remembrance Day at the Dr. Alex Ekweme Square, Awka. The governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, inspects the quarter guard and lays the memorial wreath at the cenotaph alongside the state service commanders and the chief judge.
While we celebrate our past, while we remember the future, we would also have to think about the matters, the unfinished business.
Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State announced a support package for families of fallen heroes at the Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Day, held at the Ndubuisi Kanu Square in Owerri, the state capital.
Today, we'll be handing out here on this ground the sum of 600 million naira to the families of our fallen heroes. For me, today is more than a day of national remembrance. It is a personal milestone.
Speaking during the 2026 Armed Forces Celebration and Remembrance Ceremony at the Aguiyi-Ironsi Cenotaph in Umuahia, Dr. Alex Huti, who led other top government officials to the event, described the occasion as an opportunity for his administration to celebrate members of the armed forces.
I would like to especially commend the leadership of the different security agencies in the state for their unyielding resolve to the safety of lives and property in the urban and rural centers of Abia State.
Activities marking the 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day in Delta State concluded in Asaba with a solemn wreath-laying ceremony as Governor Sheriff Oborewori and other top government officials paid tribute to Nigeria's fallen heroes. Now to Rivers State, where Governor Siminalayi Fubara also led top state government officials and armed forces commanders to lay wreaths at the cenotaph of fallen heroes. Governor Fubara delivered his 2026 Armed Forces Remembrance Day address, advocating for better welfare and a united Nigeria.
I reiterate that I will continue to strengthen our relationship with the various military command structure in Rivers State and provide relevant logistical support to enhance the operation and well-being, including efficiency.
Cross River State was also not left out in the ceremony, as the Deputy Governor speaks highly of the departed servicemen and women, assuring them that their welfare and morale remain a top priority of the state government.
The fact that we can sleep in this state is because of the hard-working military officers that we have here. So we are here to show respect to them. We are here to continue to support the Nigerian military.
In Lagos, the State Deputy Governor Quadri Hamzat arrives at the venue for the 2026 annual ceremony. He says the sacrifice made by the fallen heroes will never be forgotten because it marks the symbol of the nation's unity.
The nation is behind them, and that we are praying for them, and that we will do everything that it takes to always support them.
And in Ogun, the Deputy Governor also led the wreath and commended the armed forces for their strength in ensuring unity and development in the country.
We are celebrating our armed forces who continue to serve this country in spite of all the challenges they are there, putting their lives forward for the unity and the security of this country.
The yearly activity constantly reflects that those who fought the Civil War and the military officers still on the battlefield are well appreciated and will not be forgotten in Nigeria's history.
Now, still ahead on Newsround, President Bola Tinubu calls for equitable climate financing at the Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week in the United Arab Emirates. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're still watching Newsround. A major high point of the outgoing week was a landmark agreement which was signed by the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU to improve the welfare and remuneration framework for university lecturers. Now, the center of the agreement unveiled by the Minister of Education, Mr. Tunji Alausa, is a comprehensive review of academic staff pay and allowances approved by the National Salaries, Income and Wages Commission.
The unveiling of the agreement between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities is the reason for this gathering at the headquarters of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund. The event begins with a highlight of the essence of the gathering.
The unveiling of the FGN-ASU agreement is not merely the conclusion of a negotiation process. It is the renewal of a covenant between government and the academic community, and ultimately between the state and the Nigerian child.
An overview of the agreement, scope, and key provisions is then presented.
These engagements were driven by the urgent needs to arrest the decline in public universities, improve staff welfare, ensure sustainable funding, and strengthen university autonomy.
Although the demands of ASU have been largely met, there appears to be some gray areas, as highlighted by the President of the Union.
As we are here with joy for a successful collective bargaining between ASU and the federal government, we need to note that there are still pending issues which are more internal, that is dragging the progress and survival of our university system. Government persistent encroachment into the autonomy of the universities have not stopped. The Governing Council is legally the highest decision-making body of the Nigerian universities, and they are responsible for policy direction, financial oversight, and appointment of principal officers. In practice, however, councils are often subordinated to the whims of government authorities.
With the agreement, the federal government reiterates her commitments to dialogue and sustained development of tertiary education.
Today's agreement is a clear and deliberate, with unprecedented demonstration of the commitment of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, to quality, accessible, and uninterrupted academic calendars for all Nigerian students in a tertiary institution.
After the speeches, the agreement is unveiled. Key provisions of the agreement include a 40% pay rise with effect from January the 1st, 2026.
Thank you very much.
A dedicated professional cadre allowance for senior academics. The allowance applies strictly to full-time professors and readers. Recognizing their expanded scholarly, administrative, and research responsibilities. Under the agreement, professors will now receive 1.74 million naira per annum, while readers will earn 840,000 naira per annum to support research coordination, academic documentation, correspondence, and administrative efficiency.
On Wednesday, the family compound of late Sir Polycarp Omatu Ikweameze in Umungboma, Uzoakwa, Iheala, was consumed with grief as loved ones gathered to lay to rest three brothers taken on the same day in their prime, Stephen Omatu, Kashmir Omatu, and Collins Omatu, tragically lost their lives in a fire at the Great Nigeria Insurance Building in Balogun Market, Lagos, on December the 24th, 2025, a calamity that has left the family and community in agony.
The air in Umugboma, Uzoakwa is thick, not with the heat of the afternoon, but with a grief so heavy it seems to steal the wind. Here, in the compound of the late Sir Polycarp Omatu Ikwuemeza, a family is being buried in segments. 3 brothers, 3 lives, 3 empty spaces that can never be filled. Stephen, Kashmir and Collins Omatu did not come home from Lagos for Christmas as planned. Instead, they returned in caskets, victims of the fire that consumed the Great Nigeria House on Christmas Eve. Mourners wear expressions of despair, yet the priest, in his homily, reminds all that even amid tragedy, God remains in charge, urging the faithful to hold on to hope.
Just as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats, he will put the righteous people on his right and the others on his left. Then the king will say to the people on his right, "Come, you that are blessed by my Father. Come and possess a kingdom which has been prepared for you ever since the creation of the world."
The commendation rites begin and the brothers' bodies are lowered into the grave. The grief is overwhelming, with wailing and emotional outbursts. The sight of the wives and children of the deceased underscores the magnitude of the loss.
Let the whole world know what is going on here in Iya and Anambra State. Let us know that the 3 brothers, Stephen, Kashmir and Collins Omat, we are the same mother. They are my younger brothers. They are victims of what happened on the 24th of December 2025. And others, I am speaking for others who nobody is speaking for them. I'm a priest, and by the virtue of my ordination, I am bound to speak for justice for those who cannot speak for themselves.
Very big loss to us. We never pray for such to happen again. We can't fight anything. God knows why it happens. We only ask God, never allow such to happen in my local government again.
Community members have expressed anger at authorities, particularly the Lagos State government, criticizing the handling of the emergency that led to the tragedy.
The announcement is what baffled me most. He said that there was no casualties. They fed the young promising Nigerians. And they said most especially the fire service. They said that they are for rescue. They rescued nothing. And when I persuaded them to move forward and see that they rescue some lives, they asked me which life are they rescuing. Didn't I hear the comment of the governor that there's no casualty? So with that, they failed me.
I want to plead on governments to help us more, especially in such a market like that. We are supposed to have a fire fighting service station, but we do not have it. Lagos State government should do more on us by providing us with a firefighting service station.
Amid tears and heartbreak, the family prays that such a tragedy never befalls them again, as they remember the lives of the 3 young men taken too soon.
May their soul rest in peace. The news round ends with a call from President Bola Tinubu for equitable climate financing and robust capacity building for developing countries to help them support through climate commitments without losing focus on advancing their development and priorities. The president made this call while delivering a keynote address on the first day of the ongoing Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week in the United Arab Emirates, where he also announced that Nigeria has concluded a comprehensive economic partnership agreement with the UAE.
It is the opening ceremony of the 2026 Abu Dhabi Sustainability Week. The President of the United Arab Emirates, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, leads an audience made up of heads of states, ministers, business leaders and others. The Minister of Industry and Advanced Technology of the United Arab Emirates gives the opening speech, highlighting the undeniable union between artificial intelligence and energy for the next era of human progress.
Artificial intelligence is rewiring every industry, reshaping every sector, and resetting expectations for global growth. And while the world is changing around us, one constant remains, and that is energy. There is no artificial intelligence without actual energy.
Next is the award ceremony for the Zayed Sustainability Prize, which sees several winners emerge.
Let's hear it for our winner, NNE. Let's hear it for Base Foundation.
The opening ceremony is followed by the first session of the summit, which featured President Bola Tinubu delivering his keynote address.
Underscores the urgency.
He says the summit is an opportunity to align climate action with energy access, economic growth, job creation, and social inclusion.
The foundation of every modern economy is electricity. As an emerging economy in the global south, we understand the delicate balance between industrialization and decarbonization, so that one is not pursued at the expense of the other. We are calling for a fundamental shift in global financial architecture, a move away from the restrictive requirement of sovereign guarantees, which unfairly penalize developing countries.
He also informed the gathering that Nigeria has concluded a comprehensive economic partnership agreement with the UAE to deepen trade and cooperation in renewable energy, infrastructure, logistics, and digital trade.
The agreement will deepen trade, unlock sustainable investments, and strengthen cooperation in renewable energy, aviation, logistics, agriculture, digital trade, and climate-smart infrastructure, creating enduring opportunities for our people and businesses.
The president also announced that Nigeria will co-host Investopia with the United Arab Emirates in Lagos in February 2026, an initiative aimed at attracting global investors and accelerating sustainable investment inflows. The day's session also featured panel discussions as the opening ceremony lays the foundation for cross-sector collaboration and breakthrough solutions. Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
And that's it on Newsround. I am Will Ibang. Thanks for watching.